Today, we're going to dive into the 10-year journey of a major Indonesian shipping company, PT Transpower Marine. And get this, we're doing it by digging through a decade of their own annual reports. It tells this incredible story of massive growth, a crisis that almost broke them, and a really powerful comeback. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? It's a question any business would kill for the answer to. How do you survive when it feels like the entire global market has turned against you? Well, that's the exact journey we're going to explore right now. So let's get into it. So first things first, what does this company actually do? Well, their main gig is something called transshipment. Okay, picture Indonesia. Thousands of islands, right? You can't just sail one of those giant, massive cargo ships right up to every port. So companies like Transpower Marine are that crucial link. They basically load up commodities like coal onto these smaller barges and then ferry them out to the huge mother vessels waiting in deeper water. It's a really vital part of the whole global supply chain. Okay, so let's set the scene for this whole decade-long story. To really get what this company went through, you have to understand where they operate. We're in Indonesia, an island nation where the sea isn't just a border. It's the main highway for the entire economy. And right in the middle of all this, you've got PT Transpower Marine. We'll just call them TPM. They are a huge player here. Think of them as the arteries of this whole resource economy, moving enormous amounts of bulk goods, especially coal, which, has powered so much of that region's growth. All right, so here's where the story really gets interesting, because every great story has that big turning point, right? After riding high for a while, TPMA's big expansion plans ran headfirst into a brutal gathering storm, a global crisis that was about to test them to their absolute core. The first few years of the decade, things were looking amazing for them. In 2013, they went public with a big, successful IPO, which brought in a ton of cash. By 2015, they were using that money to expand like crazy, buying 8 brand new sets of tugs and barges. I mean, everything was on the up and up. And then, bam, this quote, and this is from their own 2016 report, it just says it all. The storm wasn't just coming, it was here. There was a global economic slowdown, China's economy was hitting the brakes, and that caused commodity prices to just crash. For a company whose entire business is shipping commodities, this was a direct hit. And if you want to see what that looks like in real numbers, wow, just look at this. In just 1 year, revenue completely tanks. We're talking from over $50 million down to just over $33 million. That's not a dip, that's falling off a cliff. So, okay, what do? Your ship is literally taking on water this fast. Well, you don't panic, you batten down the hatches, and you get to work. Let's see exactly what their game plan was. And this, right here, this is the playbook. This is the heart of their comeback. And it's all laid out in their 2015 report. It's really a masterclass in how to handle a crisis. First up, keep the ships you have in perfect condition. No downtime. Second, go to the banks and renegotiate your loans to ease that financial pressure. Third, get obsessed with efficiency, cut costs everywhere. And fourth, and this one's so important, whatever you do, hold on to your key customers. So, did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. The results were just incredible. Think of a company's debt-to-equity ratio as kind of like its financial blood pressure. In 2016, at the peak of the crisis, it was at a scary 88%. But just look at this. 2 years later, they'd chopped it almost in half, down to a much, much healthier 47.4%. This was the moment they really grabbed the wheel again. Okay, so the ship is stabilized. Now what? Well, the focus completely changes. It's not about just surviving anymore. Now it's about sailing towards growth, about finding a new, smarter course. And you can see that growth happening right now in their latest numbers. I mean, just look at the jump in how much stuff they're moving in a single year. Transshipment tonnage is up by millions of tons, and so is their inter-island business. This isn't a company just getting back on its feet. This is a company in a full sprint. So what was driving all this new growth? Well, it was a really important lesson they learned the hard way during that crisis. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So they diversified. They started carrying a whole bunch of new stuff: nickel ore, iron sand, clinkers for cement, even wood pellets and gypsum. This spread out their risk and opened up brand new markets. But underneath all of this expansion was something else, something you start seeing mentioned over and over again in their later reports: good corporate governance. This wasn't just about moving cargo anymore. This was about growing up. becoming a mature, transparent, and really trustworthy public company. All right, so we've seen the whole journey, right? The incredible growth, the absolute storm that almost sank them, and that really disciplined comeback. So let's step back and look at the big picture. What are the real lessons we can pull from this whole voyage? When you boil it all down, TPMA's story is basically a playbook with 4 key chapters. 1. Resilience. When the world outside was chaos, they focused inward. 2. Adaptation. They didn't just go back to the old way of doing things, they evolved. 3. Discipline, especially with their finances to get that debt under control. And finally, number 4, governance. They built a company that could last. And that, brings us to today and to the future. They survived the last storm, but the next one, it's going to look totally different. With this huge global push for green energy and new trade patterns popping up, the big question is, are the lessons they learned from the last decade going to be enough to navigate the challenges of the next one?